Cliff Bar as a business has always been committed to farmers. We recognize that ultimately our long-term success is dependent on the success of farmers and on the success of their communities. That's why it's really important for us to build supply chains that are equitable, that are transparent, and that really encourage sustainable and organic farming practices.
Hi, welcome to the Infatuation Academy's Coffee Cocktails event, inspired by Cliff Bar Coffee Collection. My name's Hillary Reinsberg. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Infatuation, and I'm super excited to be here tonight because actually over the past 6 months, we have started writing about cocktails at the Infatuation, which is new for us and has been really exciting and really fun. And we're actually starting to write about coffee. So stay tuned and you'll see some coffee content coming your way soon. Much like the cocktail writing and recipes we've been sending you, the plan is really just to help you master your at-home coffee making experience. And so we're really excited tonight to be combining both coffee and cocktails with our guest bartender, mixologist expert, Pamela Wiznitzer. To tell you a little bit about Cliff Bar Coffee Collection, they have 3 flavors, all inspired by coffeehouse favorites. They come in a full size and a mini size. They are made with sustainably sourced beans from Colombia. The full size bars are really a great choice for a workout. I personally am not at all a morning person, so I can definitely see the appeal of combining your breakfast and your caffeine. So I definitely will be checking those out. And the bite size bars are a super cool option for getting you through the day. A great afternoon snack. They have 65 milligrams of caffeine, which is equal to a full shot of espresso, and definitely good afternoon pick-me-up. So, and to combat the effects of climate change in the coffee supply chain, Cliff Bar is also making donations to World Coffee Research. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our mixologist for the evening, who's going to be helping us make 2 coffee-based cocktails inspired by the Cliff Bar collection. So Pamela Wiznitzer is a mixologist who has worked in the New York restaurant and bar industry for years. And I'll let her introduce herself and let her tell us a little bit about herself.
Thanks. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for that introduction. It's nice to meet all of you. Thank you for joining us this evening with Infatuation and also Cliff Bar. It's really fun to collaborate with lots of different groups, especially during this time of, we're still kind of in quarantine, pandemic, and so a lot of the ways that we're mixing and doing things are happening at home. And so the way that I come into play is that I've been making cocktails since 2006. I've opened up some of the world's best, most awarded and accoladed cocktail bars. The Dead Rabbit is pretty much like the best known one that a lot of you might have been to before. And I've also worked with like some huge companies and partners. But what's really fun in the work that I do is that I've always been engaging with the home consumer. And for me, it's making drinks at home that bring to life what we do behind all the bars and restaurants that you love to visit. And during this time, especially the past 6 months, we haven't been able to just like mosey on up to our favorite bar, sit down and get that cocktail from our bartender that we love and admire. And I know the pain of that because I'm a bar goer. I love to eat at the bars. I love to drink at the bar tops. And that's been really hard on me. And I can only imagine how hard it's been also on all of you. But the biggest thing is that when you miss those types of drinks, you miss those types of interactions, you kind of want to recreate that magic at home. So what I've been doing is through the magic of Zoom and different mediums, I've been able to teach a lot of people during this time how you can whip up these same classics and innovative drinks in the comfort of your own homes, even if you don't have the bar tools, the fancy bar tools that you see at the bars. And so what we're going to do tonight, and I'm very excited to be working with Hillary, is teaching you all how to make some coffee cocktails that are inspired by the Cliff Bars, the coffee line that they have out right now. And I can say after eating pretty much now all of them over the past few days, first off, they were awesome. They have that kick. Okay, so if you don't want to drink your cup of coffee, like do it this way. Because it honestly, I am a morning person. I don't need anything then, but when 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock hits after sitting in front of the screen, this was perfect. And what I wanted to do is find ways to mimic the flavors that we have in these really delicious bars and put it into a glass, and recipes that all of you can replicate at home. So I'm super stoked for you all to be here tonight. I'm excited that Hillary has you have all your tools out. I love this.
Got it.
Yeah.
Strainer,
Everything. I know, it's so great. So before we even dive into cocktails, I do wanna, well, first I like to lay a few ground rules. And the first thing is always drink responsibly. We have a non-alcoholic option and we have an alcoholic option. No one is forcing you to drink. I will offer substitutes as we're making it. So if you like the drink that's non-alcoholic, I will tell you ways in which you can, that is alcoholic, sorry, I'll tell you ways that you can make it non-alc, because imbibing can be done in lots of ways. So just do it safely. And number two, it's have questions. This is your time. So if you have some burning questions about incorporating coffee into drinks, we'll have some time at the end. So think about that, enter them in the chat. We are here, we're all here for this. And the third is have fun. Okay, we've got an hour to have some fun, to mix things up. And so that's kind of the way that I like to do this. I want to also make sure you have a snack. So I have a whole bowl of snacks here. Okay, so make sure you have something to eat. It's also important. It's getting to be dinner time. Sound good?
Yeah, Pamela, can you give us a quick rundown of the two drinks we're going to be making? I know they're both inspired by the Cliff Bar Coffee Collection.
Absolutely, I can. Okay, so we have two drinks that we're going to be making. The first one's going to be the alcoholic drink called Latte, You Stay. I hope some people get that reference. And that's going to be a drink. It's going to be in the style of a lift, which we'll talk about when we get to that cocktail. So it's going to be the style of a latte type of drink, using a bit of an almond syrup called an orgeat, some cream, some coffee, a vanilla vodka, and some soda water. The next one's going to be called Start Your Engines, and that's going to be our non-alcoholic drink. And it's kind of like the idea of pumping as much as we can into a drink to make it taste not only delicious, but elongate the flavor of the coffee. That's going to use some coconut water, some coffee, a little bit of fresh squeezed orange, and then a little bit of simple syrup. So we'll talk about all the ingredients that are in there, but those are the two drinks that we are going to be going over this evening.
Cool. So just to let everyone know a little bit about how this whole program works, there are some sidebar functions on the right-hand side of your screen. So if you click the chat, that's where you can ask Pamela questions, and we'll be answering those as we make the drinks. And at the end, we'll have some time to answer any we didn't get to. If you click on the recipe tab next to that, you can view the drink recipes. And then there is a Cliff link where you can learn more about the Cliff Bar Coffee Collection.
Yes, I love it. And learn. I mean, it's great to always have education. Keep learning about what it is that you are eating and drinking.
Yeah. So Pamela, are you a big coffee drinker?
So here's the tea, right? I love coffee, and I've loved coffee since my aunts and uncles would drink it all the time. And whenever we had big holidays, there was always tons of coffee brewing. And I smelled it and I was like, I want that. But a little kid, you can't have it. And I am caffeine sensitive, I will say that. So coffee for me was a treat. I couldn't have it often. And I still, I do a lot of decaf. I always treat myself having a really fun night. I get an espresso shot and then I kind of go a little crazy. And I do love it. But I like also learning about where is it sourced, the origin, how do they treat the beans, the ethics of the people who work with companies. And for me, that's the most exciting part about coffee, is understanding the origin stories of it all.
Yeah, it's so interesting to learn about. What's your brew method of choice? Go to?
Honestly, I'm a French press girl.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty simple because again, I'm brewing probably 2 times a week, 3 times, a lot of times for my drinks. What about you? What's your coffee regimen?
I've been during this time I have gotten into pour over. Yes. And especially when I'm alone, I feel like it's a great one-person way to make coffee. You don't want to brew a whole pot. And so I've been learning about kind of how to tinker with the right temperature and the right, whether you want how coarse the grinds should be. So getting into that, nerding out on it a little bit, but I'm very entry level, and but I'm definitely someone who very much needs to down a couple cups of coffee in the morning. If you see me on an early morning Zoom, I am definitely drinking coffee.
Yeah, I there was that moment during the pandemic where I got really excited. I think it hit about May when some of the coffee like trucks and carts started coming back to the city. So on my walk with my dog, I was like, I have to buy an iced coffee, even if it's not your favorite, but it's not as strong. But I just needed it. There's something about that repetitious, like just grabbing it, going for a walk. That just it was very comforting during this time. And I think that is a big part about coffee. I think it's part of routines. So, it completes the day. It starts your morning. I don't know. People really gravitate towards it. So.
Totally. Well, in addition to making cocktails at home, making coffee at home, I have, of course, also been making a lot more cocktails at home. So shall we get into the main event?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And I actually love this. And when we first started talking about this, I really emphasize the fact that coffee has really been making its way into cocktail programs for the past few years, and in lots of different techniques. Coffee is not just necessarily added to as an ingredient. That's it. I infuse a lot of spirits over coffee grinds. It's a really fun, fast infusion. So the way that Hillary was just talking about pour over method, just for anybody who's listening, if you want a really fun thing at home, same thing, pour over your favorite spirit over some coffee. A finer grind is going to be better, and you're going to have a delicious, very quick infusion. And mind you, it's very caffeinated. But there's lots of ways to incorporate it in. And so what we're going to do first is we're going to have a drink that's a style of a drink called a lift. A lift is cool because it kind of does the same thing that a fizz does, but without the egg white. And the way that it's able to do that is through kind of like the sugar and the fattiness of some of the ingredients that are in there. So it's nice because it's rich. It's going to have like a little bit of what we call a head on top, but it's very light, which is kind of like a latte when you drink one, right? It feels a little bit elongated and a little bit lighter.
All right. Yeah, I know this one is inspired by the latte item, so that's very cool.
Latte.
Where do we start?
Latte you stay. Okay, so for you and I both have shaker sets, so this is great. And I just want to talk through bar tools really quickly. For those of you who are at home, this is a shaker set. So Hillary and I have two different ones. Hillary has what's called a cobbler shaker, which means that the top is attaches directly into the tin, which is a little different. I have something called tin on tin. If this were glass, it would be called a Boston shaker, which means that the two pieces fit together, but then will come apart when it comes to pouring it out. Both of them work, okay? Both of them seal really well. And I do want to urge everybody, if you do get a shaker, get metal on metal like we both have. It's safer. If you don't have a shaker at home, don't worry. You can still make this drink. If you have a mason jar at home, a mason jar works really well as a shaking device, as does any water bottle, honestly, like even this one. Any water bottle that closes and seals, you can shake into. So there's no excuse. Everybody can do this with us.
It's good if you go camping or something. You can still make cocktails.
Okay, but I've done that before, like an Nalgene. I made margaritas in a Nalgene, and I was like, I can do anything. so yes, we can make cocktails as long as it seals. All right, when cocktail, a few rules. First off, if you have a tin like mine, you're always going to build in the smaller tin, because if you overflow the big one and try to shake it, doesn't really work. You are going to always just build in the tin because that's all you have right there. We have another device here for making cocktails. We both have something called a jigger. It's a measuring device. Ours are going to be 1 ounce on one side and 2 ounces on the other. There are lines on the inside because of the ones we have that tell you 0.75, 1.5. Cocktails are more akin to baking than to cooking. Okay, so we get very precise with our measurements because a little bit too much and your drink is completely off. It's not like Emerald, he just would like throw spices in, and he's just like, this will taste great, bam. It's not what happens with cocktails, okay? We need to be really precise. If you don't have one of these, that's okay. I like to offer, I don't know where my shot glass went. Here it is. Shot glasses work as well. Shot glasses tend to be 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces. So be aware of where it is. You can eyeball measurements. And then another one is, and this is made by OXO, they're nice measuring cups you can also buy at most of your stores. This works as well. And I also offer that 1 tablespoon is approximately 1/2 ounce. So you can always use a tablespoon to measure out your ounces into your drink. Sound good? All right, so for making latte you stay, we always start with the least expensive ingredient to most expensive when we make cocktails, because we need to make sure that we don't mess up the main ingredient, because like we put that in first and we screw up, you don't have to pour it out. So when you start least expensive to most expensive, you screw up early on, pennies on the dollar, get that out of here. All right, so for this drink, we have a bunch of different ingredients. So we are just gonna start early on with our milk or our cream. I do like to use a heavier fat milk in here, and we are going to do an ounce of that. If you want more froth, and I will say this right now, you could add a half an ounce more, which is something like I'm gonna do, because sometimes I like just a little bit more froth. So you're gonna put that into your drink. Lovely, just like that. All right, the next ingredient, and I put in the recipe, is called orgeat. Orgeat, or an almond syrup. If you are looking to make an orgeat, they're simple. I actually made this at home. A lot of times orgeats take 24 hours to make because you're grinding these almonds. This is merely 2 parts, 1 part sugar to almond milk with a little drop of orange blossom water and a little drop of almond extract. And you can have this homemade syrup. So throwing that out there for the world, take it or leave it. What's nice about a lift is that you're going to need that fattiness that comes from the sugars and also from the milk to make that lift possible. So we're going to add 0.75 ounces of this syrup, and we're going to add it into our cocktail. If you want to get a bit more boozy, you can also use an almond liqueur. It tastes delicious, right?
Oh yeah.
It tastes really good as well. So now listen, there's no shame in wanting it to be a little boozier. That's totally okay.
Yes, I have some almond liqueur, and I've not tasted it in the cocktail yet, but on its own, it's definitely something I'm excited to now have in my house.
Yeah, and it's going to complement all the flavors really nicely. All right, next part is going to be our coffee. Here's the thing about coffee in your cocktails. You can't have weak coffee, okay? So it's really nice, but you have a cold brew, right, Hillary?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Cold brews are going to be great because they're heavily concentrated coffee. Lots of ways you can make cold brew at home, but even the simplest is just going to be having the coffee grinds with water in a mason jar in the fridge for a 24-hour period. There are great bottled options as well. I also sometimes just brew a coffee extremely, like extreme extra scoops of grinds in there. So I'm going to add 1 ounce.
Yeah, I have some cold brew concentrate, and I have not watered it down. So,
Ooh, you're gonna feel that.
if anyone wants to chat, at 2 a.m. might be around.
You're definitely gonna feel that.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last part is going to be a vanilla infused vodka. So for anyone who's at home, what's cool about this drink is that there's a few fun ingredients and techniques. A few ways that you can make vanilla infused vodka. 1, buy it in a bottle. There are some really great ones on the market, and you know what? Infusions